E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Excuse me, I thought my voice was okay. I apologize for that. Our show is proudly brought to you by the 6-Minute Webinar and also Hometown Good News Magazine. We're very proud to have both of those organizations and companies sponsoring us and working with us. We're very excited about that, very honored, to be honest with you. And we are very, very, very excited. When I say we, I'm talking about Donna and Emerson and Charlene and Michaela and Gaia and, just the whole family. Everybody's busy doing something. Emerson, he's in Orlando, Florida. He's on a trip down there, and he's speaking or attending an event. And Donna's real busy, and Michaela's real busy, and Charlene's real busy. So I was the one that was not so busy. That's why I'm here today. But we're so excited about our brand new fall schedule, the 6th season. This is our 6th season of being on E360 TV network. And we're starting out with every Monday being dedicated for the entire rest of the year. Every Monday will be dedicated to making a difference in business. And we're going to be covering a lot of things there from, we're going to be introducing you to how things like networking and marketing. And really the theme of the show is how you can be a blessing in your business to yourself, your family, and to others, to share your blessings. Because to make a difference, you've got to have something to offer that you can make a difference. And that's what that show will be focused on, making a difference in business. We're going to be covering information for the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, and we're going to be giving out some good stuff there too for the folks out there. And how to network, as I said before, it's a very important need out there, especially with so many home-based businesses and so many people working from home. And then on Tuesday, yesterday's show, we had a very good show. Joel Peterson was able to join me. And Tuesdays will be dedicated to finding health naturally. That's very, very important for us to find health naturally. And we're going to be looking at different alternative ways, herbs and things of this nature. And we're going to bring in some subject matter experts on those particular topics. And we're going to share that information with you. But we always encourage people, no matter what, make sure you discuss anything and everything with your medical doctor. And just make sure that, you cover your own bases there. And because what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. And every Wednesday, this is a day that we're very excited about. This is going to be in two main areas. I'm going to kick it off today because our title for this Wednesday show is Youth Making a Difference. And today I'm going to share a few stories with you about young people. And when I share these stories with you, you're just going to go, wow. You just wait and see. So young people is making a difference. Also, too, we're going to be talking and interviewing guests that are mentors to helping our youth making a difference, because both of those are very key. Because a lot of young people can see, hey, if that 9-year-old can do something, I can do something. And you're exactly right. Then on Thursdays, oh my goodness, Donna and I are really looking forward to doing this show tomorrow for you. Pets we love. This is going to be a great, fun show for us to do. We know a lot of people out there are going to enjoy it because I was talking to a young lady earlier today, and we're going to be, and she's got some, she's going to be sending us some videos in of her pets doing fun things because this is going to be an opportunity. And let me put our email address up there. Oh, that's the wrong, let me find the email address here. I get carried away there. There we go. Email us at inspirationd360tv. So if you'd like to have your pet featured on here, send us some information, give us a link to it. Let us take a look at the video. We want to make sure it's good quality video. We'd be happy to be able to plug and play because when it comes to pets, we're going to be covering the full gamut of the animal world, the animals that save lives, the animals who put their life on the line for, their human family and for others. And of course, the animals that we just love to watch. And all these stories, we're very excited about that. Then on Friday, we're going to be talking about women in leadership. We're going to be interviewing ladies. We're going to be sharing stories about ladies that that are demonstrated that they're first-class leaders. No question about that. And we're really looking forward to this 6th season. And, it doesn't seem like this is our 6th season already, but yes, we are. We're very excited about it. We're so glad that you're here. And today, on National Today, we got a few things here. One thing I like is National Coloring Day. And this is where you get out the old paper and the crayons and all that and you color. There's just something about hands-on that is so much better than anything digital or online. Because you can use your colored pencils, your markers, and you can, do anything you want to with it. You can color outside the lines. In fact, I think it's cool to color outside the lines, not only on a coloring book, but also in real life. So today is National Coloring Day. It's a great time to be able to get out and let the kids get their hands into something. Also today is we seem like we have Donut Day every other week or at least once a week or something. I don't know what's going on here. I guess we got some donut holics. But National Cream-Filled Donut Day. I mean, I guess we've all had our special donut that we love. And oh my goodness, I used to love the chocolate frosted eclairs with the Bavarian cream in there. Oh my goodness gracious. I better hush. We may have to cut the show short today. Today is also National Eat a Hoagie Day. And a hoagie sandwich, they call them hoagies. I've heard them called poor boys, submarines, whatever. But I'll tell you right now, a good sandwich like that, especially when you're traveling or something, it really comes in handy. And today is also, they call it the National Food is Medicine Day, but really it's Natural Food is Medicine Day. That's really what they're talking about there because Hippocrates, he actually said, let your food be your medicine. And it's very important for us to learn how to recognize what poor nutrition, the health risk it presents, but also to how we can overcome that and be able to, live a healthy life and be able to enhance our health with good food. And we're talking about youth making a difference. And the first young lady I want to share with you is a young lady, and she is 17 years of age. Her name is Dasa Taylor. I guess that's, Dasa Taylor, D-A-S-I-H. What she did, she found a specific need with sutures. When you go have surgery and the doctor stitch you up, the sutures in there, what she came up with, she had a brilliant idea, and she used beets, the root vegetable beet. And she found that created the beet created the perfect dye for her to use for suture thread. And when it was bright red, that meant that the wound inside was okay. But if that suture started turning purple, that meant that there's an infection coming in. And you think about what a heads up that is to be able to receive a warning like that. If you see the you see the threads starting to change color, you know that there is a infection setting in and you can be more proactive. But it really blows me away. And she's a 17-year-old student at Iowa City West High School in Iowa City, Iowa. She began working on the project back in October of 2019 after her chemistry teacher shared information on statewide fairs with the class. As she developed her sutures, she nabbed awards at several regional science fairs. And it's really amazing how she came about this because, she just saw a real need because in the World Health Organization, she says 2 to 4% of surgeries in the United States, 11% of the surgical wounds develop infection in low to middle incoming countries, people that have, in the not third world countries, but low income countries. Now, her focus was on the C-sections when a mother would have a C-section and the baby would be born. That in African nations, up to 20% of the women who gave birth by C-section developed surgical side effects from infections. And so that was the catalyst that got her to researching. And you think about this young lady, who would start with beets? Who would even think of beets? And it's extremely important for us to recognize that she had a vision. Now, normally, a lot of 17-year-olds, what are you doing with them? Get in there and make up that bed. Were you born in, clean up that room? Were you born in a barn? But here is a young lady who has done a lot of work. She's been a guest speaker at several conferences. And she says, so when I was presented with this opportunity to do research, she says, I couldn't help but go at it with a equity lens, meaning have her eyes wide open, because during the COVID-19 pandemic, she spent most of her time after school in the Black History Game Show. But she saw this need and it just started building up in her. And thank goodness that she came up with this, because this can give the patient and the doctors a heads up on an infection that's just right around the corner. And it really, impresses me because these young people, they were not told, hey, you better do this or you better do that. They just took it right on their own. Here's a young lady, and I've got to get a drink of water here. This young lady, she's 12 years old. Her name is Daisy Hampton. When COVID-19 hit New York City and the schools were forced to switch to remote learning, a 12-year-old girl, Daisy Hampton, she noticed that a lot of her classmates weren't showing up to the virtual classes. After learning that many students in the New York City couldn't attend online classes because either they lacked access to the learning tools like computers or tablets or Wi-Fi hotspots, and Daisy wanted to help. And what started as a small act of kindness has turned into a citywide movement to close the digital gap and ensure that every student has the tools that they need to be able to learn and grow in a remote learning environment. In March of 2020, after the schools around the world scrambled to transition to online learning, Daisy, she noticed trouble about her new virtual classroom. Several of her classmates just weren't able to be there, as I said earlier. Right away, Daisy had a hunch that was likely the reason, as a local news story told about a 9-year-old student, in the Bronx, named Kamani, reinforced her suspicions. According to the story, Kamani didn't have access to a working laptop at home and therefore couldn't attend online courses to complete her schoolwork. And what's more, Kamani's school's absences were putting her mother at risk for her being reported to Child Protective Services. So here is her parents did not have the funds to have a computer and a Wi-Fi or what all they needed, but she definitely didn't have the computer or laptop to be able to attend classes. And because she wouldn't attend classes, the school system was going to report her mother, and she would be at risk being reported to Child Protective Services. And because little Kamani, she kept falling further and further behind her education. So the pressure on her family was growing pretty heavy, as you can imagine. Really heartbroken and touched by Kamani's story, Daisy decided to do something about it. Using the $200 she had been awarded through Girl Scouts, Daisy bought a laptop for Kamani and delivered it to her in person. When the two students met up, Kamani opened up to Daisy and told her how difficult and lonely it had been for her to miss so much school and how grateful she was to receive the gift. Well, this incredible act of kindness was only the beginning for 12-year-old Daisy. She knew there were countless other students in her school who were just like Kamani and extremely bright kids who were eager to learn remotely alongside with their peers if they had the necessary resources. At the start of school in October 2020, 77,000 kids in the New York City public system lacked devices they needed for remote learning. These kids were knocking on their virtual classroom door and no one was letting them in. And she says, I just had to try to help. In April of last year, Daisy funded Including You. That's her group there, Including You, a nonprofit that's focused on mentoring students who face veritable obstacles in their educational journeys. Through her organization, Daisy hopes to help close this digital divide by providing online learning tools like laptops and tablets and hotspots to those who need it most. To help fund her initiative, Daisy started a GoFundMe, and the response from the community was overwhelming. To date, Daisy has raised over $16,000 and delivered devices to over 250 students across New York City and beyond. This is just a 12-year-old young lady. She says, I was touched by the outpouring of support with people I never met giving me $5, $10, and even one instance, $1,000. Recently, Daisy had the opportunity to catch up with some of the students who received these devices through her fundraiser. And one student was a senior in high school who was unable to receive her school-issued laptop because her father couldn't take time off to work to go to the school and sign for it. And every school day for the past year, her father would leave his smartphone at home while he went to work so that she and her younger brother could keep up with their classes. Unfortunately, the programs would often crash on the smartphone. So her grades began to slip and she fell behind in her studies. Since having her own laptop, however, all of that has changed, especially now that her younger brother has received a laptop from Daisy too. And throughout the journey that young Daisy has taken, she has learned a lot. And that's when you really learn a lot in life, is when you give a lot. You're going to learn a lot. And her experience in meeting and getting to know the students from different economic backgrounds, and she says, just opened her eyes and mind to the glaring inequities that exist within the education system. And at the same time, it's shown her that there are plenty of compassionate people out there who want to leverage their privilege to make a positive impact. This is a 12-year-old girl, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I was thinking about, and we're going to hear about a 9-year-old in a few minutes, but I was thinking about when I was 9 years of age or 12 years of age, I wasn't at this level, but Daisy had a specific calling. She was there and she saw a need and she rose up to the occasion. So you young folks out there, when you see a need, get busy. And don't say, well, I can't do anything till I have money. Daisy found a way to raise money. Daisy got other people to buy in on her vision. That's what it takes. That's what never goes out of style. It never grows old. If a good leader realizes that leadership is not about doing what I tell you to do, leadership is about getting people to believe in the same things that you believe in. And that's what Daisy has done. And it's really an amazing story. And Daisy goes on, she says, I see on the news a lot about what divides us, but I think GoFundMe showed me all the good there is in the world. So many people want to help others. And in any way they can, it has made me feel hopeful at a time many might feel hopeless. And that is so true, because when you're giving, you are attracting the positive love and vibration and energy from this universe. When you're taking or not sharing, that's when you slam that door. And she went on to say, reflecting on her initiative, Daisy is very proud of what she's been able to achieve so far. And she acknowledges that there is still a lot more work to be done. And that's one thing that you're entitled to when you work at something from ground zero and you go up. You're entitled to feel good about yourself. You've earned that respect, not just from others, but for yourself. And that's why whenever people are, kind of low on money and they're looking for someone to give them a handout to help them out, that's not the best thing you can do for a person. It really isn't, because you have robbed that individual of their dignity and their ability, no matter where they're at, no matter how doom and gloom it may look, but you have robbed them of having the pride and dignity to be able to work out of that. Because it's like one time I heard a coach who won the Super Bowl. He was being interviewed and he was asked, what's it like to win the Super Bowl? And he said, well, it's great, but really what makes it so great isn't just winning the Super Bowl. It's overcoming all of the obstacles that we had to overcome, the injuries, the heartbreak moments, all those things that we had to overcome just to get there. That's what makes that so special. And that's what makes this so special for Daisy and other kids like Daisy who do things for others. Being able to earn, what they're doing through their hard work. And sure, people were sending in money, but she was putting forth a lot of effort into this. And it's so important. And to learn more about Daisy's, mission and entitled Including You, you can visit GoFundMe and look for her. It's just amazing what this young lady has done at 12 years of age. That simply just blows my mind, ladies and gentlemen. It really does. And I think back when I was 12 years of age, what did I do? Well, I rode my bicycle. I played baseball, but I never thought about making a difference in my life or the world or others. It wasn't anywhere on my horizon. I guess I was just a typical little 12-year-old kid. But the point being is that in this day and time, this world needs a lot of daisies, because our daisies today that we need, male and female alike, there's a huge need in this country today for the 12-year-olds and the 9-year-olds. You don't think of 9 and 12-year-old kids step up to the plate, but Daisy did. And she's made a difference. And just a moment, we're going to be talking about a little 9-year-old girl who saw a need and she answered the call. And it really does, touch my heart, because you hear stories like this. You look at yourself and you think, what did I do? We hear a lot about people saying, well, I want to leave a legacy. I want to do this. I want to do that. And my philosophy is, don't worry about a legacy. Don't worry about having some credentials that someone's going to remember you by. Focus on showing up and just being there for that one person each day. Because when these young kids started out, doing what they're doing, and the other stories I'm going to share with you very shortly, they didn't start out to leave a legacy. They didn't start out to change the world. They saw a need to help people, and they just responded. They were that go-to person. That's something that our young people need to hear more of. You don't look at your age, or don't look at the fact that you don't have any money. Don't look at what you don't have. You just may be that one go-to person that can make a difference in another person's life. And that's the starting point of all achievement. It truly is. This one here was very unique. It was a teenager online. She has an online shop, and really her online shop that she has is really a forest. No, I'm not talking about trees now, but it's a smoke screen. Because really what it is, it secretly attracts and helps victims of domestic violence. The COVID-19 pandemic hit, and we know how that turned everybody's life upside down. People were restricted at home. People were nervous. People were scared. People reacted in not so nice ways sometimes, because they were just taking out their frustrations, and they really didn't know how to release this tension, this worry, this stress that we were all under. I mean, I was concerned. I wouldn't say I was worried. Yes, I was worried there for a little while. I got to be honest, but mainly I was concerned about the coronavirus based on all that I heard. And what really upsets me now is the fact that a lot of the stuff was, well, let's just say it was embellished, okay? And there is a lesson in that, because there's nothing I could have done about it anyway, so why should I worry? Because if I worry, all it's going to do is drag me down. But if I say there's nothing I can do about that, and I'm going to let it go, and I still struggle with things like this, ladies and gentlemen, not so much worry, but when I hear something or see something that goes against my personal beliefs, it wants me to wants to flare up. But see, I can't change that. All it can do is rob me of my energy on the inside. And this young lady, she's recognized that, because she recognized that there was a rise in domestic violence in the house because people were in a lockdown. And this was all around the world, because people were being, remember how we were told to stay home and isolate yourself even from one another, remember that? And it becomes a perfect storm for abusive behavior and intimate partner violence, as she puts it. And it's very, very true, because, I mean, a thought just flashed in my mind. I remember I was outside on my property, and of course I didn't wear a mask, and not outside on 8.5 acres by myself. Hello, I'm not going to get anything from a sparrow. But I saw a guy driving down the road in his truck by himself, and we live out in the country. And he's wearing a mask, and he's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? Don't you realize this virus is, that's the way he looked at me. I don't know what he was thinking, but his look was kind of like, he couldn't believe that I was outside without a mask. And here I am on the other side thinking, I can't believe you're in your truck by yourself wearing a mask. But that was part of all the confusion. And with the lockdown, all these nerves, something had to give. And unfortunately, as sad as it is, domestic violence was on the rise. And this young lady is a Polish high school student. Her name is Krystana Pasco. And she decided she was going to do something to help those in danger. She launched a fake online shop as a way to discreetly communicate with those who were trapped with the abuser in their homes. Now, this ingenious Facebook page that she created, of course, it's written in Polish, but it acts as a lifeline for those in abusive situations. It's called Camomiles and Pansies, Camomiles and Pansies. And at first glance, they sell cosmetics. But beyond the pretty pictures of products is a coded language that helps victims escape their dire situations. When someone writes in the chat inquiring about skin cream, she had it lined up with a psychologist that would respond as a salesperson. This is pretty unique, isn't it? Asking, how long have they had skin problems? That's pretty slick, isn't it? And orders placed with an address indicate that they wanted authorities to come to that particular home address. As she was inspired to create this Facebook page after learning about the increase of domestic violence during the pandemic, and she says, I heard about a French initiative where people go to the pharmacy and they would ask for a special mask, and that would let the pharmacist know that they were a victim of domestic violence. She says, I thought it was a brilliant idea, so I came up with the idea of selling cosmetics. And then after sharing her plans on Facebook, she saw that there were a lot of public interest in it. And so then she contacted the Center of Women's Rights, which is a Polish NGO, which is a non-government organization. And they set her up with psychologists and lawyers for her organization. And more than 350 people have used the site since it launched in April of 2020. And most of those who contacted it were women under the age of 40. And her idea is one of 23 projects to be awarded the EU, the European Union, Civil Solidarity Prize, which recognizes organizations seeking to address the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's really amazing what she did there. She saw a need and she really just kind of like stepped up to the plate. And I mean, just think about that. You know, she knew who to get in touch with. See, that's another thing too. Regardless if you're 9, 19, 29, 49, whatever the age is irrelevant. It's just a number. Remember, there are people out there who are willing to reach out and help you. She knew if she went to the right organization, says, hey, this is what I've got. This is what I'm trying to do. And they got her lined up with, counselors and lawyers to be able to accomplish this mission. And that's extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. So here again, how much money did that cost her? It didn't cost her any money. What it took was a little time, a little brilliant thinking, and being able to say, hey, we're going to make a change here. I'm going to make a difference. And think about all the women, over 350 of them, who lived in abusive situations, who had no way of escape. And if the abuser was seeing her online, looking at a cosmetic Facebook page, what would they think? Yeah, she's just looking at cosmetics, not realizing that there was help in the private chat. That you got to tip your hat to that, because that's very, very amazing. It really, truly is. Now I'm going to talk to you about a 9-year-old girl. And this 9-year-old girl, she took a simple act of kindness during COVID-19, and it has spurred an army of volunteers. The little girl's name is Hannah Fatima. She saw a need one day. Her and her father, her organization, let me back up here. Her efforts snowballed into a voluntary delivery network called the Good Neighbor Project. Now, this is a 9-year-old girl. And what happened is just at 9 years of age, Hannah, she doesn't quite know what she wants to be when she grows up, but she does know she wants to help people realize the power they have to make a difference. Oh my goodness. Yes, she does know what she wants to be when she grows up. She's just not, you know, she realizes that she just wants to help realize the power people have to make a difference. That's what she's going to do. That's the higher calling. To say I'm going to be an accountant or I'm going to be a counselor or something like that, that's putting it under a spotlight. That's narrowing it down too narrow. But really, she says, she said this to CBS News. She says, when I go, somebody has to know it and carry it down to the next generations. I want to be somebody who teaches others about good. This is a 9-year-old girl who has stepped up to the plate during COVID-19. And you look around, it's a lot of adults that we're all familiar with who did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And this got born just out of an impulse situation there in Ontario. Her and her dad were in a grocery store. That was in the early days when COVID-19 pandemic first kicked off. We're all gonna, it's going to wipe out. This COVID-19 is going to thin the herd as far as the human race is concerned, and all those things. And so it was about a year. It was right after the first lockdown, 2 days before the first lockdown in 2020. That's when toilet paper and uncertainty about life in a global pandemic were, at the top of so many people's mind. Fatima and her father, Tariq, they were stocking up on supplies. They had to wait outside of a grocery store for about an hour, standing in line. And once they get inside, their total goal is that they're going to just buy what they need, get it, just get paid for it. Let's get out of here as fast as we can, and let's get home safely. We need this stuff. We're out here exposed to all this COVID-19, this pandemic, this stuff. It's bad and, going to kill half the people on planet Earth or whatever. We just need to get this and get back home and be safe. And it was really panic shopping. That's what we all did, because back in those early days, sound like a long time ago, but back in 2020, whenever we went to the grocery store, what is the first thing we probably went for or headed to? The toilet paper aisle, right? Because it was just, I don't know how that got started, but some Einstein says, hey, we better not run out of toilet paper. But anyway, her and her father, that was the scenario. They're going in there, they're going to get their supplies, going to get it as fast as they can, and then they're going to try to get out of there and get home and be safe. That was the mindset of everybody in the early days of COVID-19, especially during the first lockdown. People just wanted to, make sure, they hope and prayed they didn't get that deadly, evil, wicked disease. And they were panic shopping, as her father recalled. He says, naturally, I was focused on me and trying to get my list as quickly as possible. He remembers people having some difficulty, but he wasn't paying any attention to it. He was focused on, I need this and I need to get my goods out of there. We need to get home and we need to get back to safety. He said, it made me think of my grandparents. And Fatima talked about, it remembered her. She saw an older lady and it reminded her of her grandparents. And she pointed to the woman out to her father, and the two offered to carry her purchases to the car. She was an elderly lady, and, she had these bags, and they offered, even in the middle of a pandemic where you got to practice social distancing, you better be careful. Don't let if anybody sneezes if you're in an aisle and someone sneezes, you're going to run out of there. But they volunteered to carry this elderly lady's groceries to her car. It was just a simple gesture of kindness, but the woman's reaction really stayed with little Fatima. It made her feel really, really good on the inside and very, very happy. Back home, Fatima and her father shared their number with a few elderly neighbors, and the idea that was if they needed help, they would provide them with a list of items that Fatima and her dad would purchase so that those that's most at risk didn't have to be exposed to the virus in crowded stores. That's how this started getting going. And the father he shared the idea with a few friends and started a Facebook group to coordinate. Now, his friends told their friends, and within hours, there were hundreds of people volunteering to do the same thing in their communities. Because little Fatima, this 9-year-old girl's, her suggestion, her good gesture, I should say, when a suggestion was a gesture in the store, it just literally snowballed from there. It just caught on like, wow, yeah, we could do that. And it turned into an army of volunteers. And the core members they're known as the Good Neighbor Project. They decided to call it the Good Neighbor Project, and that was a perfect name with it. Now listen to this. More than a year into the pandemic, the group had grown and has over 6,000 volunteers from a host of diverse backgrounds, speaking more than 30 languages and with chapters in Toronto and London and Ottawa, Canada. This little 9-year-old girl inspired that. Think about that. And since launching last March, the group says it has completed more than 9,000 deliveries for vulnerable people, including seniors, people with special needs, people who are pregnant, single parents, and others. But according to the father, the group isn't a charity or nonprofit. It's just a network of good-hearted Canadians who came together to help the community during unprecedented times. And it shows that people have that wanting in their heart to go and do something. And that's what Fatima created there with the outpour of volunteers. And one gentleman, Ahmed El Rafia, he's 73. He is one of the seniors that Fatima has helped. With 2 stents in his heart, he knew going to the store because he'd run out of something like sugar or coffee. It wasn't a good idea for him during those days. And he said, it's not a joke. So when Fatima and her father offered up their number, he was touched by their kindness. They are wonderful. This young lady is a blessing in our neighborhood, he said. We always appreciate what she does. At a time of darkness, little Fatima became a bright light for people in need. Think about that. That's amazing, isn't it? At a time when we hear about all the mean things going on, there are still so many good people out there who are waiting and might take a kid to get it in gear and get them going. I mean, a 9-year-old girl? We spoke earlier about a 12-year-old girl? My goodness gracious. I mean, they don't have to be a college graduate or anything, but our next young lady she was in college, and this kind of surprised me when I first read about this story and heard about this story. But before we get into that, I just want to say one final thing about little Fatima, that she worked so hard to share the lesson with as many people as she can about how important it is to reach out and help others. She wants to be able to teach that to people. She said, when I saw the elderly person, I thought that was my opportunity to go and help somebody. Because whenever you get a chance to help, and this is her quote now, this is her talking, she says, because whenever you get a chance to be helpful and kind, just go and do it without even thinking about it. Everybody should do that. You see an opportunity, you see somebody that needs help, just go and just do it. Wow. That's some great advice for a 9-year-old kid, is it not? My goodness gracious. I couldn't have gave that type of advice at 9 years of age. Could you? If you could, you got my blessings. but I couldn't do that. I didn't have what it took. And that's one thing that Napoleon Hill talked about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. He's a firm believer that somehow the long arm of destiny can reach way over into an area and lift up probably the smallest person and use that person to be a blessing to a multitude. And when you think about what little Fatima did at 9 years of age, he got over 6,000 volunteers, on the Good Neighbor program. My goodness gracious. You can't argue with that, can you? And there's another young lady who saw a need, and she was the senior citizen of the bunch, I'm going to say. She's a college student, and she founded NOLA, they call it NOLA, which is New Orleans, Louisiana, first glass recycling plant. I didn't know they had that because she saw a need there, and her name is Francisca Trautman. And she was the end of her college career and when her frustration at her city's, New Orleans, Louisiana, lack of a recycling program for glass, it just got to her. But rather than stew about it, rather than complain about it, she got up and she got into action. And she created the solution that she wanted to see. How about that for a change? We've got a lot of people who are Monday morning quarterbacks. We've got a lot of people say, you need to do this and you didn't do that, and et cetera. But she says, let me show you. I can demonstrate what I believe in. I know what I can do. And she got it up and she got it in gear. And guess what? She got it done. And because with the help of her, being set out to change her city, I should say, and with the help of her friends, with her company, she calls it Glass Half Full. And today, Glass Half Full is a company that collects glass in New Orleans and converts it to beach-like sand and glass cutlet, which is then used for disaster relief, eco-construction, new glass products, and so many other things. Glass Half Full reimagines recycling, and they collect all the glass for free and the help of volunteers. And Francisca and Glass Half Full are making the world a better place, one glass collection at a time. And you can visit Glass Half Full. Her Instagram is glasshalffull.NOLA. NOLA, again, is for New Orleans, the initials, and then LA is for Louisiana. And it's really amazing. And that's what it takes sometimes in life whenever people see a need. I mean, when it comes to Francisca here, she saw a need. It just started bothering her. She could have complained and let it go, but she says, no, I'm just going to do something about it. I'm sick and tired of this. And most people will complain and do nothing. That doesn't do anybody any good. She has got to the point where she says, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm going to change it, and I'm going to get it going, and I'm going to do it now. And because she and a couple of her friends saw how big that problem was in New Orleans, and she was shocked to find out they didn't even have a recycling center for glass. So that's what was the catalyst. And now she is an inspiration for other young people. Think about these young girls like that, college girls, that are able to go out and say, I'm going to make the world a better place. In her particular thing, one glass at a time. And that's very important because many times we look at things in life, we want to do things on a grandiose scale. We want to do the big things. We want to set up a big nonprofit, or we want to do this, or we want to do that. All we got to do is just get busy. And there's charities that we donate to. In fact, I need to mention one of our charities that we support here at the TV show. I haven't done that in the last couple of days. I kind of apologize. But our charity, of course, and they're working on the website, is Healing Acres Never Again, which falls right in step with that young lady who created that beautiful coded message, Facebook page on cosmetics. But Healing Acres Never Again, they're working on the website there. They're getting it upgraded. But that's a place for men and women both. It's a safe haven where they can go. And they can go there physically or they can go there online. But the most important thing, they can get help there from someone that has been there. And Healing Acres Never Again resulted from Charlene Fouts is the one that founded it. She's one of our, she's part of our host and support here at the TV station. We're very fond of her. But when I first heard her story, I was blown away. And what blew me away was that she shared her story, and I've seen other ladies share their stories, very similar stories. The lady I spoke to today, she was, her first husband tried to kill her. But when you look at her and you look at Charlene, these ladies have a light in their eyes. They got a smile on their face. These horrible men who did horrible things to them, like in Charlene's case, she was physically abused, and I know that the other lady was too. No matter what, they could not squelch the love of life that they had in them, their inner spirit, their candle, if I may put it like that. Because all that darkness could not squelch the light that comes through and flows out their eyes. And you see their eyes sparkle. We've all seen people that are, have done a lot of mean things or evil things, and you look at their eyes and their eyes look dark and their eyes look lifeless. And you don't want to have anything to do with that person, even though you just see them on the TV screen. But immediately you don't want to have anything to do with those people. But when you see people that's got a light in their eyes and a smile on their face, and you could see that their candle is just, flowing up from inside the spirit of their body. And no matter what's happened to them in life, you can't keep them down. You may kick them down, you may knock them down, but you better get out of the way because they're getting back up. Those are my kind of people, ladies and gentlemen. They really, truly are. And it's an honor for us to have Charlene with us, to work with us. She also handles some of our social media posting. And she's not able to be with us this week, but she'll be with us a little bit next week. And Emerson will be too, because Emerson is, let me talk a little bit about Brother Emerson. He's over in Orlando, but Emerson, he had a traumatic brain injury back in December of 2020. He was in a coma for about 6 weeks. And he got an infection in his brain, and they had tubes coming out of his skull to drain the infection. And he wasn't supposed to come out of there alive, okay? But he did. And he's really coming back strong, and we're all very proud of him here. And he was telling me last week, he said, I got invited down by a good friend of ours, Mike, down to Orlando to attend an event. He says, it's not that I used to drive it all the time, but he says, I drive to the doctors and I do short trips, but I don't really want to trust myself out there going from Jacksonville down to Orlando, Florida. I said, I can understand that. He said, you know what I did? And I says, nope. He says, I bought me a ticket on Amtrak. I said, you did? And he said, yeah. He says, and it cost a lot. I said, really? He said, yeah, it cost me $37. But this way here, think about, he could get on it, which he did. And he sent me a few pictures, and we talked while he was en route there on the train. And he was able to sit there and enjoy the trip and relieve himself of any worry or stress about driving. He didn't even have to deal with that. And the reason I share that with you, whatever is going on in our life that we cannot change, let it go. Find a way to let it go. Put it out of your life, because if it's not serving you, it's draining your energy. My goodness gracious, we're already out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Now, tomorrow, we're going to be talking about pets that we love. Me and Donna will be here, and this is going to be a fun time for us all, because every single day we got a different topic, and We got Making a Difference in Business on Monday, Finding Health Naturally on Tuesday. Today, of course, Youth Making a Difference. And Thursday's Pets We Love. And Friday, of course, Women in Leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same station, as we like to say. Listen, bless you and inspire those young kids out there. Let them know they can be anything they want to be. We'll see you later.